Hi there, my name is Fax, and I'm going to go ahead and show you a couple of things about how I prepare for Dungeons and Dragons inside of Tabletop Simulator. Um, Now, this is a fast tutorial just to show some of the stuff that I've been doing recently. Thought's been pretty neat. And this is using Tabletop Simulator purely as a planning tool instead of running a game in Tabletop Simulator. So let's get started. Um, the first stop, this is just, you could use any table in Tabletop Simulator. This is the default one inside of um, a normal single player session. You don't need to be multiplayer for this unless you want to collaborate with other people. But uh, here, let's say I want to go ahead and plan for an upcoming D&D campaign or an adventure or something that I'm running. It doesn't have to be D&D, it could be any RPG or something where you want to go ahead and collect your thoughts. Um, I have here a bunch of different things going on. There is workshop, uh, a workshop thing called the Kraken table. If you go onto the Steam workshop and look for the Kraken table, you can go ahead and find it. You can see here I just decided to load up a fresh one. First thing I'm going to go ahead and do, save a new copy of that, and I'm just going to go ahead and create a folder. Examples. Don't look at all my other stuff, don't steal it. Um, and I'm going to go ahead and create a file in here. I'm going to just call this sample planning table. Just save. Cool. So now I have kind of a fresh table to work from. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is I am going to use components. That was objects components. And I'm going to go ahead and go to the tools section here and use a note card. And maybe I want to go ahead and make multiple note cards, so I'm going to use an infinite bag here. And what I can do is this is click and hold, left click and hold, drop that into here, and then now I can go ahead and make as many note cards as I want. So now that we have kind of a nice large table, it's actually got wings and stuff, uh, neat little physics tassels, side wing. Surely you have seen this table before if you are looking for Tabletop Simulator and D&D planning. If not, it's one of the most popular like custom table models out there. You'll see it bundled in all sorts of stuff. You can customize the board, you can put a grid on, you can do all kinds of stuff. Anyway, Tabletop Simulator is useful because it's a physics simulator. So you can go ahead and treat this table like you would a normal table, except you have all of the space and you don't need to clean it up. You can just save it. So let's say I want to go ahead and plan for a new campaign that I'm going to run. Let's say I want to go ahead and start planning out some high level ideas here. Uh, and I need to go ahead and start getting those things kind of focused together, right? With a campaign, you can go ahead and just come up with different ideas, and note cards here are useful because they are they only have as much as you can type onto them. And this type of note card is kind of this is the one that comes with Tabletop Simulator. You have to put everything inside of this right click menu where the name is. So name, and then whatever I can fit in here. Okay. You can see that it goes into there, but that's pretty clunky. Trying to actually fit everything into the description. So I have there's another workshop item called better note cards. So these are useful, but I can go ahead and I can do better. So workshop, and you can just look for better note cards inside of there's multiple flavors, but I like to use this one here. It's called Better Note Cards Encounters. Instead of loading the table by itself, or this specific module by itself, there's a three-dot menu here. If I mouse over it, that says Options, and I'm going to use Additive Load. Are you sure you want to do this? Yes. Click load. You can see that there's a little note card here, and I can actually just, if I click on here, I can actually type on this, and I can also go ahead and update the title. Now the cool thing about Tabletop Simulator is you have 3D camera control that's pretty intuitive, and what I can do is I can go ahead and just combine this stuff to go ahead and give me interesting tactics on how to make note cards as well as to organize them in novel ways. So let's say I'm planning a campaign and I need to go ahead and I have a rough idea of what I want to do with the campaign, but I need to get my thoughts together kind of in a high level. I don't need these counters here. They could be useful. I'm just going to move them to the side. Could always load them back up again if I need to. And because I know that, whoops, I need to, I'm going to need more note cards. I can create an infinite bag. Let me just clean up this note card here. So now I have a blank note card to go ahead and deploy at any time. Pretty useful. Again, all you have to do is just drag it, click and drag from the thing. And let's say I made too many note cards. I can delete just by mouse over and using the delete key, or right click delete. Anyway, let's clear these out. And okay, here we go. Let's say I have a campaign, and this is small because I'm an idiot, so I'm just going to scroll in using my mouse wheel. Campaign idea. All right. There I have my big campaign idea, and it's only what I can fit onto this card here. If I wanted to go ahead and make more stuff that is related to this, let's say I ran out of space here to go ahead and talk about Honest Abe with a chainsaw. I can always just make another card. All right. Seems pretty reasonable. I have some stuff here with the campaign idea. Maybe I don't like that idea anymore. Maybe the chainsaw isn't actually made out of bees, but I'll want to come back to this sometime later. This is a physics simulator. What I can do, I can just throw that away and just put it off to one side because I don't need it anymore. Or, let's drag it back here. Or, I can flip it over. Oh, look, there's other stuff here on the back of the note card. I don't necessarily need any of this, but I just flipped the card over to show that you can do things that you could normally do inside of the real world. Like, let's say that you had a blank note card, you wrote some ideas on it, you don't need it right now, or you want to reveal it later for demonstration purposes, perhaps. I'll say, oh, what's going on here? Flip it over, hit F, or you can just right click and hit flip. Oh, look, the chainsaw is actually made of bees. Now, that's pretty cool. Let me see if I can go ahead and expand on this in greater detail. And instead of dragging from the bag, I just use copy and paste, just like a Word document or something like that. You know how it works. I'm assuming anyway. Okay, campaign idea. What if Abraham Lincoln had a chainsaw and did a musical? Let's talk about what players are going to do. And you can use any formatting you want. It doesn't really matter. Just whatever makes sense to you. Um, all right, so just throwing out some ideas in there. What will players do? I just give myself a bulleted list. Let's say that I want to come back to this. It says I just left a note, work on this later. I could change the color of this note card. whatever I want. Let's say red because red's a good color to say, hey, uh, pay attention to me. You can see I can zoom all the way out, move all around into this formless void of ideas. And I can see right over here, even though I can't see what's on the text right now, I can see that there's a red card there, just like if I'm 20, 100 feet away from this table physically. Then I can zoom in. Oh, yeah, that's right. Maybe I came back to this table 5 weeks from now, and I was like, what was I doing with this table? Abraham Lincoln? Chainsaw? Bees? Oh, I have to figure out what the players are going to do. So this is a good way to go ahead and flag yourself um, some ideas. Uh, you can basically set up anything that you want on this table. Note cards are just a good way of laying things out, and you can use that to go to your advantage. There are other ways to organize your ideas out there, but let's say, let me show you something that is an applied example, right? Let's save this. Let me go back here. Games, save load, and then we'll save this to our examples folder. And I'll come back to this table later at some point, maybe use it for a future video or something. Sample planning table. Three-dot menu, overwrite, because we want to save into the same file. You can make more if you want, but I don't really care that much in my setup. Sample planning table, overwrite. You even get a nice thumbnail of whatever your camera was looking at the last time you were looking at that table. Let's go over here, take a look inside of some of the templates that I was using. And if you're part of one of these games and you're viewing this, whatever, I don't really care. Spoiler alert. This table I have set up from kind of a template, and you can see that I have a few things going on here. I'm running Sunless Citadel for 5th edition using Tales from the Yawning Portal, and I have kind of a few things going on. Players will never see this unless they're looking at this video, of course. Um, I have a texture and a grid on the table here. I have a few note cards that I've set up for myself. Um, and let's just zoom into these note cards. Some of these things are just notes that I'm making for myself that they might not make sense to anybody else, and that's fine. This document or this table is meant for me as a DM who's working on planning things out. Okay, so for example, I know that they're at the fortress, which is, this area here, moving my mouse cursor around. I imported this image. I just took a screenshot or used Roll20 or something like that and loaded the image asset into a custom piece of physics tile. And this was for my private use. I paid for this, so hopefully it's okay. Anyway, um, I have all of these things here. They're all kind of nice and set up in a way that kind of makes sense. You can see that there's things that I've left over by the wayside, things I haven't filled out yet, just have the titles. Got this Meepo card. This is actually a result of what happened in the most recent session as of this recording. And you can see that I have some other stuff going on over here too. These are other mods that I've loaded in to this table, and I used one of the extra side wings here. Here's an initiative tracker if I wanted to track initiative in something that wasn't Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds or something like that. I can have this up in the background if my computer is beefy enough, and I can go ahead and I can manage stuff here. These are just physics objects. I can do whatever I want with it. To heck with this thing. I can throw it away. Where'd it go? If something goes off the table by accident, it usually respawns here in the middle. It's the beauty of digital things. And I have all of these things here. These are actually sample tokens that I paid somebody good money to make, and then I made infinite bags of them, so I can go ahead and spawn as many tokens as I want. And these are ostensibly like this is like D&D wizard tokens, for example. Um, and I gave them like a cool border, um, and I can. This is like a 3D esque token. You know, it's almost like you have a card standing on a standee. I can color the standee to whatever I want. Changes the base color. So let's say this is blue is a friendly color. Let's make this a enemy color, red. Now you got an enemy wizard if you want. I put a tooltip here that says it's a wizard. Just gave it a name. And let's say this is going to represent, I don't know, this is going to represent a bad guy. I actually have bad guy tokens here, so let's grab one of those. This is my handy dandy boss token. Let's get rid of the wizard token. Who needs you, wizard? Let's say I want to go ahead and I need to remind myself where the hell I put this boss. Put it here on top of the board. This custom board, I didn't have it 12 hours ago. You know, I just imported this map. You could use any other image asset in order to go ahead and show what you need to. I put it on top of the board. That this just reminds me, hey, you got a boss over here somewhere. You can even highlight stuff too. That kind of looks weird. Um, but let's say that I have I want to make sure that I remind myself that there is a boss inside that's tied to this card. I can just drop a token here or a figure, you know what I mean. And then I can go ahead and type in there's a boss here. Boom. All right. So now you know kind of how all of this stuff goes. Um, this is a pretty basic setup, but you can use it in a bunch of different ways too. You don't have to load up a map. Um, you don't have to use any of these things. You just use what works for you. Uh, and then I have the PDF of Tales from the Yawning Portal and the physical copy because I don't know, I can't stop buying that book for some reason. This is actually the amount of hours that I was going to use to keep track of Torchlight. It's got a human in the party. And then I can use this to go ahead and seek back and forth inside of my handy PDF to see what the progression looks like, or if I want to have this just in the background instead of having Roll20 um, and its UI weirdness, I can just have all of this self-contained thing, and that's nice. Anyway, let me go ahead and show you another thing, and then this is really just for the sake of demonstrating that I'm using a table in order to go ahead and sort out my ideas in different ways for different adventures. Um, okay, here's one. And one caveat here is that if you don't actually save your progress here, it's not gonna remind you, hey, you made changes to this other thing. It's just gonna say, are you sure you want to load the next thing? And that's okay. Just remind yourself that if you are going to make changes, save them, and then you can go ahead and do whatever you like. So am I sure? Yes. Now here's a table that I set up for another game that I'm currently running, and this shows this is an intrigue heavy game with a bunch of experienced players. So I'm creating things around that and adding some complexity that I need to remind myself and also them what's going on. So I have more resources here. You can see that I expanded some of the wings, color coded some of the cards. and I'm being intentionally zoomed out here, but um, uh, each of these card stacks here represents a storyline. This is like a very limited run 5 session campaign type thing I'm doing. Let's zoom in on one of these things. Here's my topic, like the piece of the session or adventure that I'm going to go ahead and use. Uh, here's what I need to know. Stakes, destiny, and all of these things are very short, text-wise, and color-coded. Destiny is, for me, refers to if nobody does anything, this is the thing that's going to happen. Which the players are supposed to, but who knows what they're going to do. This is they want to prevent this from happening, but I need to remind myself that's the case. Um, and this is using some things from Sly Flourish, lazy DM preparation type stuff, where I'm reminding myself to give players rewards. So I'm bad about that. I need to remind myself what is actually going on. These things are essentially secrets. Secrets that for the players to find out. It's an intrigue game, so you can go ahead and find out about them through investigation. Um, Maybe these are true or not true, and they may never come across these, but I remember them because I have it on a table here. And I color coded this because this is the big deal here. The methods of how to, kill the good king of the land. Um, and here's another arc that I'm preparing to go ahead and, okay, once they deal with this thing over here, they got to deal with this thing over here. Maybe let's say I'm done with this. I can just click on this drawer pool thing. It actually just closes it right up like a real drawer. All the stuff is still there though. That's cool. Anyway, you can see that I have a lot more going on because here's some samples. The characters themselves. I'm using a different note card here, and these are all of their backgrounds, their general tokens in case I want to use them for my planning. Um, some of their allies. I'm using some generic tokens here that I'm copying some old sprites from like a Super Nintendo game that I might run a tutorial about, how to use those types of things for private use, legally. Uh, you can see here that there's uh, I've written this stuff for myself. Um, I created a nice card back here just by using Google image search. You can customize the front and back of cards. And you can do this pretty much for anything. So the point is, Tabletop Simulator allows you to organize thoughts like you are at an actual table or a whiteboard or whatever. It allows you to do it in a physics-based way, so I can go ahead and arrange things in ways that make sense to me. And I can do so without having to do physical cleanup. Because if I had an actual table like this, I couldn't just keep a physical table like this or physical whiteboard or have all of these infinitely spawning bags of cool stuff. I would have to put it away at some point. But here I can save it you know, as a single file, which is cool. And then you can see that I have other stuff here. Again, all of these concepts are kept very short intentionally. If I needed to go for longer, there are other note cards out there. I can put custom tokens. I can use these are just chess pieces that are included in Tabletop Simulator. So this is the king. So why don't I use a king chess piece there? Other stuff that I need to go ahead and fill out for myself later. At some point, maybe. Um, yeah, and this is a this is how I'm organizing this specific campaign. Uh, So these couple of examples how to get tabletop simulator set up. I was finding it to be super useful to me. I've tried using Scrivener, Evernote, OneNote, all of those other types of notes. Any type of note-based taking program just wasn't doing it for me. I needed something that was a little more tactile and could take up a little bit more space. Tabletop simulators filled the bill for me, and it's it's $15, $20. I bought it so long ago that I've gotten fantastic value out of it. I would say if you are interested in trying to do this, go ahead and load up a table, start planning as a game master, and then let me know what you think. Um, anyway, that went long because I started rambling, but let me know if that's useful for you. And thanks for watching. Have a good one.